My name's Stephen Morrison. We're farming up here in the North Antrim, just outside Armoy. We're on a dairy and beef farm, predominantly running about 230 pedigree Holstein cows.
My name is Adam Conn. I'm one of the partners in Riada Veterinary Clinic in Ballymoney, and we practice on the north coast of Northern Ireland, covering the beautiful Causeway Coast and surrounding areas.
Every day is a different day. There's no 2 days the same, and it's just nice being out and doing stuff with the stock and every variety of it all.
I think personally, a lot of people think that you have to maybe be, well, I suppose I am an animal person, but I'm probably more of a people person than an animal person, in that the favourite part of the job is actually spending time with people, farmers, reps, whoever, and talking and learning about them, and having a bit of fun along the way. But obviously working with animals is a bonus, and that's the nice part of the job. But I do enjoy chatting to everyone most of the day. Make a living out of talking to people is pretty good fun.
I suppose mainly the colostrum and colostrum management, and getting colostrum into the calf as soon as possible. Hygiene of the shed, the calf shed, the equipment you're using, and ventilation be a big factor. I
think for me that question has to come back to when I hear from clients when things are going wrong, and that usually is maybe halfway through their calving season. So stocking density would be a big one, and if your sheds are overstocked with calves, that's whenever you start to get problems. The other time would be whenever the weather changes, so when the temperatures drop or the moisture in the air increases, there's a lot more rain. That's whenever we start to see more problems with damp, wet bedding and bedding that can't dry, and then obviously the calves get damp and take scar and pneumonia and things like that. So weather has a big role to play in calf rearing. And then I suppose the other one that we can tie a lot of problems back to whenever we actually go and investigate is nutrition. So whether it's maybe not the right amount of powder, or the best powder for that specific batch of calves, or like come back to colostrum as well. But nutrition, stocking density and weather would be my three main points of problems, I find.
So much of the calf rearing comes from the dry cow, and I suppose one thing we relate to was vaccinating, and like rotovac vaccinating for scar. We've seen a big difference from doing things like that and looking after the dry cow better.
Going back to weather, like a baby calf wants to be around 10-12 degrees for the first month, so your calf house has to be relatively warm. Standing in a calf house with a coat or a fleece and a hat on thinking this is great, maybe try and take those off and see how you feel then, and that's how your baby calves feel. So yeah, cold plays a big role in stressing out the calves' immune system for that first month. They need to be warm, and if they're not warm, they're not growing, they're not able to fight infection. So yeah, I think taking your coat off and seeing what it's like for the calves is probably my best tip.
When you get them to 6 months and just that nice shine off them, and the nice size and the health, getting them healthy to that stage. Once they get there, they usually go on flying, but it's just getting everything to that 6 months in as good a way as possible.
Best piece of advice I've ever received, I think, was people always say you should learn from your mistakes, but one of my old bosses told me you should learn from other people's mistakes, because that saves you making them in the first place. And that's probably one thing that I've carried through my career. Try and keep an eye on what everyone else is doing and learn from that. But you don't learn from things going right. Things going right, you get a bit complacent. Whenever something goes wrong, that's whenever you maybe stop and take it in and try and fix that for next time. But if you can do that with someone else's mistakes, even better.
If you think things is going well, always to take time out to reflect and be ready for when things don't go so well.
I'm not a massive podcast fan. Like, I spend a lot of time driving around the country, and I tend to favour listening to probably what some people would class as terrible music over podcasts. But I like to get away from things with some 1990s dance music. I don't tend to listen to much veterinary what would you say, podcasts or information outside of working hours. I like to get away from it and relax in different ways than actually listen to it all day. So I'm not a big podcast listener, to be honest.
If it's challenge times, it's always nice to get a wee break away and head off with the family and do stuff to take your mind off things and refocus for the next day. I'm
a big believer in probiotics and postbiotics in any animal health and human health, actually, in that they are a great supplement to everything else. It's like everything, you can't expect one thing to fix every problem, but if you don't start by doing everything right, whenever you get times of maybe weather change or cool weather, or maybe where your stocking density has been increased, maybe where it should be, if you haven't done everything right from day one, that's whenever things go wrong very fast. So the likes of your precision microbes or probiotics in general, I find that they help bind to the gut and maybe stop other bugs trying to get in there and do a lot of damage in the times of stress in the calf's life. So yeah, again, along with everything, I think they're a great tool that we can add into the calf health side of things.
How much effort and commitment the farmer puts into getting the produce before it goes onto the shelf. There's an awful lot of time and I suppose an awful lot of effort goes in and the passion goes into getting that produce as good as possible.
A funny moment I can say on camera. Probably I was only working about 2-3 weeks, and I used to live in a flat just above the practice at that stage, and I didn't know any clients really at that stage, and I got a knock at the door. It was like 2 in the morning, and usually, people phone the practice, they don't actually knock the door, but anyway, there was this knock on the door, and I was on call, so I thought, right, I better go down and see what's going on. And it was this guy with a massive beard and looked pretty dishevelled, and I didn't even know who he was or what, and he just said, who are you? And I said, I'm the vet. And he went, right, cow calving, bring a torch. And I thought, right, here we go. So anyway, we drove out to the middle of nowhere, and the cow was still in the field, and we proceeded to chase the cow around the field for 2 hours. And at one stage I looked behind me, and this guy, he was a good age at this stage, and the baler twine that he was using to hold up his trousers had broken, so he was standing behind me with his trousers down and the baler twine broken, and I didn't know if he was a client, and the cow was still running round and round, and I thought, I don't know if I'm in the right job here. But anyway, we got her tied to a tractor and we got her calved, and it's never happened since, thankfully, but I suppose at the start of my career I thought this was going to be a regular occurrence. So yeah, that's probably the only one of the funny things that I can remember.
I've 3 boys, and they all go to their rugby club on a Saturday morning for training. They all enjoy rugby, and it's nice going to watch, taking time out and going to watch them and how they're progressing and doing.
For me, the teamwork aspect of things is really key to success, in that Stephen, myself, the meal companies, nutritionists, contractors, AI companies, we all work together. Like, I would speak to Stephen's nutritionist every now and again, and we talk about certain things that are maybe going on. But I think that's really the key, is that whenever all aspects are working well together, and the only way we can do that is by communicating well. So communication.
It's good that if you've something silly, you think silly, or you're not sure of, you can just send a picture or a text. You don't have to start ringing an office and you get an answer really, really quick. And also, there's always different stuff coming out in the market, and it's good to get Adam's opinion on what you think you need to use or what would be good to on farm, because not everything suits everybody. Yeah.
As well, I think your vet has to care about how everything's going. If the calves are doing well and the cows are doing well and Stephen's happy, then we're happy.